Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you? Okay?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm good. Nervous, as always. But yeah, doing okay, thank you.
And I just want to say thank you for joining this little National Inclusion Week podcast. I'll let you introduce yourself if you'd like.
I'll start by thanking you and Jonathan Reardon, who asked me to do this, and I think it was from off the back of my video on Eid al-Adha. And I was overwhelmed with the response I had to that, so I'm more than happy to be a part of this. So my name is Zaheer Ishtiaq. I work for the Quality and Market Improvement team. I'm a Quality Assurance and Contracting Officer. Normally, at this moment in time, I'm working as a care home liaison officer, and we're working with the care homes during this COVID pandemic and trying to support them as best we can. Also working with our health colleagues in that as well. I've been working for the council since 2009, November 11th, 2009. I started working for the council, and I moved into this role as a quality assurance and contracting officer in 2017, 6th of November 2017. So I've been here 10 years in the council.
Yeah, all that experience, mashallah. That's why I think this conversation is so good, because my side of things, my name's Francesca, Floris, and this is the 4th week on the day I've been at NYCC. So I'm a graduate inclusion and diversity officer. So part of my role obviously is trying to increase diversity and make NYCC a more inclusive environment, and I guess National Inclusion Week is kind of part of that. And just to explain to the viewers as to why we're doing this podcast, National Inclusion Week, it's in its 8th year now, and it's basically a week that's dedicated to trying to, get discussions around inclusion at the forefront, and just a space, I guess, really to talk about like what inclusion means to us, and working towards, promoting inclusion within the workplace and all those kind of changes that come with that. And this theme actually this year is each one reach one. And so that's about just having those conversations about what inclusion means to us as individuals, and the ways in which we can help create an inclusive environment in the workplace. So I guess this is a great platform for us to kind of talk about our experiences. Yourself, as someone who has been at NYCC for obviously a lot longer than me, and we're both Muslims, so that's I guess kind of central part of why we're doing this. Talk about our experiences and what includes us as Muslims and people. And I guess what any advice you give to me, or any viewers, or any people that are of minority looking at maybe a job at NYCC or any other workplace for that matter.
It's fantastic to be able to do this, I have to say, to start with Inclusion Week and with everything that's been done. So yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting week to see some of the things that have come up. So I've seen a couple of the ideas that were going to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see what's been said and what's been done.
Yeah, and hopefully it's again just about those conversations, and hopefully it's just a relaxed way for us to talk about inclusion and think about what the next steps are for NYCC. So I guess the first question I'd like to ask you is kind of what inclusion means to you, and do you feel like it's important, and if so, why do you feel like it's important from your perspective?
I think inclusion means, for me, is just being able to be yourself. I think that's really important, because whether you are Muslim, you are atheist, whatever religion you are, whether you're part of the LGBTQ community, it's about being yourself and being allowed to be yourself. I think that's important, and I think it's being in a place where I feel included, and I don't feel like I'm he's ostracized because of the color of my skin, because of my religion, because of my faith, because of the way I dress. As you probably at the moment in time, I'm wearing my Asian clothing, my traditional Asian clothing, and being able to just be me, be there, and not think that, I better not do that, or better not say that, because I don't know how so-and-so will react to that, and so-and-so will react to that. And that's why it is important to me as a Muslim, to be able to be myself and be able to not shy away from, you know, my religion. Like my 5 daily prayers, I try and pray when I'm in the office. I do try and pray do my prayers while I'm in the office, and if not, then I'll do them at home. But on Fridays, I always do my prayers at the mosque whenever I can. I've always, you know, my diary has always been around that, so I can do my prayers at the mosque. And having supportive managers in my previous role and this role that have allowed me to do that. They know that Fridays he has his prayers, and my team, who I currently work with, they know that Zaheer, you know, his prayers on Friday, and they will try not to put anything in my diary for that time. Whilst I've said to them, if need be, if you're struggling, I'm always there to support you, and I will, you know, I can always do my prayers after. I've always said that, but my colleagues know that it's important to me, and they've allowed it, so they wouldn't book time in my diary at that time. However, if need be, they've always known I was always there for them. That for me is inclusion. That I feel that is inclusion. Then my team, who I work with, knowing how important my prayers are, and when I come into the office in County Hall, if it's in the morning, I usually get there around about 7:30, which is around the time of morning prayer for me. I will go into one of the corners and I'll do my prayers, and colleagues will come in and they'll know that he's doing his prayers, so they'll stay quiet. They won't speak loud. But again, they don't need to do that. I can still concentrate with that, but they won't, you know. And I've been over in Craven. We've had actually a room in Craven. When one of the offices is three little rooms. One of them, they've actually put a blind on there for me when I do my prayers, so that I get my privacy. Yeah. So, and I think that for me is inclusion. That is me feeling wanted, not having to hide myself. And I think one of the things that I remember, this is an old manager who's now left, Janet Bordeaux, who was a lovely woman. And I was praying and I hadn't locked the door. I'd put the blind down, hadn't locked the door, and she walked in while I was praying. And I you know, didn't know it was her. I carried on my prayer and everything, finished it. And I went and sat down, didn't think anything of it. And she came up to me and she was like, I'm absolutely mortified. I walked, oh, don't worry, I got it. But she was so upset that she walked in while I was praying. And I just thought it's, you know, that was just shows what kind of character and person she is. And I've you know, that was just a little example of the colleagues of people who I've worked with and what they've been like. And when it comes to my prayers and things of that nature.
Yeah, and it's so, like, obviously, being someone that just started, there's always, I feel like, that kind of fear of when you go into a new workplace, especially I came from like a very Muslim kind of, I was working in the Muslim charity sector, so I was working alongside Muslims all the time. So things like prayer and stuff like that, we would all pray together. So it was very easy, and I didn't have to think about it. And obviously, from Scarborough, which hasn't got a very big Muslim community, and I think my fear on returning back up here after university and starting a role here would be, one, that kind of lack of understanding. So people may want to be inclusive but not really know how, and so you almost have to kind of go out of your way to ask for things, and then you almost feel like a burden or a nuisance or something like that. And so hearing you speak, it's so reassuring, I think, to feel like NYCC and your managers have been so kind of inclusive in that sense, in that you don't even have to ask. It's a space where people do make that effort to try, even if it doesn't like offend you, just that kind of awareness is it's really nice. It's really nice to hear that and reassuring.
And I'll give you an example of it in my current role, where with exactly what you've just said about not wanting to offend, or not wanting to worried about what's going to happen. And I started, like I said, I started a job in 2017, and we had, in the first week I was coming, my dad put Fridays for Friday prayer, and we had a meeting with the AD at the time, and I can't remember her name. Kathy Clark was the AD at the time when I started, and there was a whole commissioning meeting for our team, and it was around, you know, the time for Jummah prayer. And I thought, oh, I better go to that. And I went to it. And after, like, my manager, Stephen Crutchley, he asked me, he goes, did you do your prayer? I was like, no, I was worried about coming to the meeting. I thought I had to get. He goes, and he was like, well, if you needed to do your prayer, you should have done your prayer. And that was my first week, because I was worried on a new job, need to make an but that just put me at ease, because that I was like, okay. But I was thinking, oh, I need to make sure I make a good impression. Everyone's gonna be there. I can't be late. Everyone's gonna be there. But because that had been my diary for my previous job, it's always been in my diary for Fridays at a certain time with my Friday prayer. But he's like, oh well, in future, if you got your prayers, you do your prayers, and then you could come to the meeting after. It's fine. So that just meant so much to me at the time, that he knew that Fridays Zaheer's got to do his prayers on Friday. So again, that was just an example of the type of manager I currently have in Stephen, and head of in Janine, and how they've, I could give you loads of examples of what it's like in the office, and what I always, in the office, it's always, I always say in the office, when it comes to my religion, nothing is off topic. Nothing's off topic. Is that the right phrase? Yeah. Is that right? I'm thinking, is that right? Nothing's off the table, even. Yes, off the table. Nothing's off the table. You can ask me anything. And I've always had that with them, that you can ask me absolutely anything when it comes to my religion, because if you don't know, then who can you ask? And I'm always open with that. So that's always been the thing with me, that you can ask me anything, and I won't be offended. I'm not, as people who know me, I'm very rarely offended. I've been called all sorts, yes, within this job, not this job, sorry, by other people who, so yeah, it's not been, I'm not easily offended. So I always say, if you don't ask, you don't find out, really.
No, that's very true. And that's the thing, is sometimes it's people, if they have questions, it's okay to ask. A lot of people are willing to give. It's more just the way that the question is asked, or the respect that's given. And I think it's kind of illustrated by when the lady walked in on you praying. Just that kind of awareness is more than anything that we'd ask for. We never expect anyone to kind of necessarily come up to us and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. But the fact that someone showed that kind of awareness and care, and even, for example, as Muslims, like, our faith is so important to us. It's not just something that we practice, it's a way of life. I think a lot of Muslims would describe it as that. And so it is intrinsic to who we are. It's not something that you can kind of park on the side, just go to work, and you take it off. And I think the hijab woman is kind of an example of that. It's very much with me, even though I feel like faith is a very private thing in certain aspects, it's also public facing too. And I think it's that people wouldn't, we would never expect someone to understand that, in terms of, I think if you're a person of faith and you have a connection to your faith, you understand how kind of deep that connection is. So it's really lovely that even if someone doesn't share that belief, they acknowledge that belief is something important that's to still do. And I think that's part of, I guess, the inclusion conversation, is recognizing, okay, this might not be important to me, but is it for them? And same things, things like getting someone's name correct. Like, you might such a silly mistake, but when people make the effort to say your name correctly, or address you nicely, or just things like that, it tells you that it's meaningful to you, because you don't know how many times that person has had their name mispronounced, or yourself. My name is quite easy, like, but I know for my friends, especially, I haven't obviously got a Muslim name, but my friends that do, or even a non-English name, it's a daily occurrence where someone gets their name wrong. So when someone tries,
I love it. I've had quite a few different names. I think because my name is Zaheer Ishtiaq, Zaheer Ish, and I've been called Hamish on more than one occasion. I'm like, Hamish, really? I've been called Hamish quite a few times, to be fair. I've been called Jack. Terry was one of the weirdest ones. I don't know where they got Terry from. But yeah, so I've been it. And I think when I first came into the council, I remember someone said to me, oh, do you not have a abbreviation to your name? I was like, no, my name's Zaheer. I don't have an abbreviation. Outside of work, I do, I might have an abbreviation, I have nicknames or what have you. I'm like, I'm at work, my name is Zaheer. And it's not a difficult name to say once you say it a couple of times. That person doesn't work for the council anymore, to be fair. And yeah, so people struggle with my name at the start, and but you know, it's you know, I was around, and it's everyone says it now. Everyone says it fine now. I've never had any issues now with my name being said in the council anyway. Well, when I get those cold calls, they're completely different.
Yeah.
And the inclusion that I've felt working for the council was around Ramadan and Eid. And Ramadan, obviously, just for people who will be listening to the podcast, Ramadan is 29 or 30 days every year, and it goes back 10 days because the Islamic calendar is the lunar calendar. So we as Muslims don't know when Ramadan's going to be. We have a rough idea. We have a day or so here and there. We have a rough idea. As the famous phrase goes, there's moon wars because of how people interpret the moon, whether you go with. Anyway, I won't go into that for now. So it's 30 days, and during that time we can't eat from sunrise till sunset. Yes, and we can't drink water either. No, not even water, as I said last time. And then after the 30 days, or 29 or 30 days, depending on the moon, there will be Eid al-Fitr, which is the big celebration. And then we have Eid al-Adha, which is usually 10 weeks after, which is around the time of Hajj, which I mentioned in my last vlog that I did. And with it being a lunar calendar, you don't know when it's going to be until literally a day before sometimes. And I've been very lucky from working for the council in my last job with indirect payments, and in this job as a quality and market improvement in the quality and market improvement team, that I kind of just tell them, I said, it's around this time. And say, okay, that's fine. You know, that's fine. So we know roughly when it's going to be. So that's why you could take your time off. And that is what it's been like. And during Ramadan, when it's sunrise till sunset, sunrise over the last few years has been around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which has been quite difficult when you think like some people go to work at 9 o'clock. So again, Stephen and Janine is my management, the management team. Have been so good to me in that way. It's like, okay, your hours are 37 hours. How, you can start at 12 and finish when you do, and everything, do your hours sort of thing, and get your hours in. So you do your 12 till 8 shift sort of thing and move it forward, and if you need to move it forward a little bit, whatever, in and around those hours. So it was been very, very flexible for me, so flexible, and it made it so easy for me to allow my religion to be important to me, and especially during Ramadan, as you know, Francesca, as well, during Ramadan, where we want to be better Muslims. We want to do that extra prayer, read that extra Quran, do that extra zikr. You want to do all that, don't you? A little bit extra during Ramadan, and having that flexibility has allowed me to be able to do that. So it's been amazing for me. As a Muslim, being able to practice my religion, I've not yet come across an issue with me having to practice my religion working for the council, which I say proudly, and I tell my colleagues, my friends, that, because I know my friends who have difficulty, who don't get time off during Ramadan, don't get to change their hours, and still have to work the same hours, don't get time off for their Friday prayers, don't get off for time for their normal prayers, day-to-day prayers. And when I tell them, oh yeah, I'm working, like for instance, I'm working from home. I work from home on a Friday, which is what I used to do, so I could do my prayers at the mosque. I was like, you're so lucky you get to do that. But for me, until my friends had said it to me, I didn't realize how lucky I was, and that it was just so natural to me that they've been so accommodating. That it was easy, and I've always said it always makes me want to do more, and be better working for the council as well. Saying that if I can go over and above. I will go over and above because I know I've been supported in what's important to me. So I'm going to make sure I do what's important for the council, to help the council at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good example of like how important inclusion is, not only to the individual but for the council itself. Like, it's not just individuals that benefit. Like, we don't just benefit by feeling included, but the council actually, you have a workforce that is more connected, that actually care for one another. There's almost like a unit in as much as you can get from your work environment. And it's so true about the difficulties that so many people face, when really it's not too difficult to be inclusive, or to just be like, have a bit of flexibility with your time. And I think it has shown as well how many organizations have perhaps been kind of unsure about allowing more flexibility, but then having it forced upon them, have realized, you know what, this isn't necessarily so bad. Maybe we could switch a bit. Maybe you can go away from what has been traditionally so, and you can see that the future is a lot more brighter. And actually, we all, I think as individuals, I think that's the thing about inclusion, is it relates to us all. Like, we all want to belong, that we're valued and that we're included. And I think that's the thing, we all, we spend such a large proportion of our lives working, to look after our families, and you want to feel fulfilled when you're doing that. And we all are so like linked by that feeling of, we spend all this time and we want to go to a space where we feel, welcome. We don't want to be going to work and thinking, oh God, here we go again. Here I have to cut out of myself. Or, I know for a lot of other Muslims that have gone through similar things to your friends, it's like there is this kind of friction of being able to be as practicing as you want to be, and that kind of commitment to God and religion and deen and everything like that, to being able to work and provide for your families. And that's just, that shouldn't exist, because as you said, like, any time that's lost is made up for. And when other people take time off for whatever reasons that are important to them, it doesn't take away from the output of the organization or a company or whatever. It adds it adds to the and it allows diversity to flourish, because otherwise you just squash it. And that's another thing about the link between diversity and inclusion, I guess, is like, you can have a diverse workforce, but if people don't feel included, they're not going to stay. If they can find another avenue, another route where they're another company that's going to treat them the way that they feel like they deserve to be treated, they will be. And if they never find that, then they're going to have a very unfulfilled kind of life, and they're not going to feel included in the way that they should. And it's just, to me, it's like what you've said, it highlights so much the importance of inclusion. But I think the danger of when that's gone, when people feel excluded, when people don't feel like they're valued, when people feel like they go to a job and they're just disposable.
It is that feeling in itself must be very hard. Everyone has their ups and downs with work, and if I don't get me, and I've said to everyone who listens, I love my job. I genuinely love what I do, and that is because of the management team that I work with at the moment. With all of the management team, and just the way that you're treated as a person, and you're not seen as an object. But also because I think I've been able to, as a Muslim, I've been able to work, not have to put my Muslim side separate to me while I'm working. It goes hand in hand for me, because, as you said, being a Muslim, our religion doesn't stop when we come to work. It's still there. The prayers still go on at that time whilst you're working. So it's the fact that I know that my prayers can continue with me, my religious obligations can continue with me whilst I'm at work, and and if nothing should change, nothing has to change for me. It's made me, like I said, that's part of the reason why I love my job. And I'm sure there's many people a lot of people who can't say that, but I genuinely do. but it's also because of, for me, is, as I said, and I keep saying it, is because of the management team that I work with at the moment, in Stephen, Janine, and Nicola. And at the moment we have Johnny as well, who's currently within the team. And anything that comes up, absolutely anything that comes up, it's a phone call and it's dealt with. And I had a bereavement recently, and it was a text message sent to Nick, and it was like, it's dealt with. Don't worry about it. You do what you need to. You just don't worry about it. And after that, I actually, it was like, don't worry about anything else. Everything else will be sorted. You breathe. You can come back to work when you're ready to come back to work. And that was it. It was literally one text message, all it took. And I know, and again, within that time, I know another family member who's a similar relationship to the person who had died, had to ring their manager, text their manager. The manager asked them to ring them. They had to ring them, and then actually had to go into the office to get time off work. That was the difference. So it's from, and I think for me, sometimes until I see other people going through the hardships, I don't realize how lucky we are. And I am personally, in having such a supportive management team, and who are willing to help me and support me in everything. It just, again, I just can't speak highly enough of it. Anyone who knows me knows exactly how I feel about the management team and the rest of my team who I work with as well. I've had a couple of difficult weeks with work, and it's been with everything that's been going on, quite a lot on, and I had colleagues ringing me, are you okay? Do you need any help? And because again, that is, well, it's not, that's the inclusion again aspect of it. I think it's not about my religion. So which work-wise, being, even though we are so far apart and they're working different offices, everyone's all over the, working from home, colleagues are still thinking of each other, that, is he okay? Is he all right? And we've done it as well. We've rung colleagues, say, are you okay? Do you need any help and support? And our team have always been like that. That if anyone needs support, they rally around as much as they can, and we've always been that. And it meant so much to me last week when a couple of colleagues, rung me in, just to say, is there anything I can do to help you? And in the week before, I was struggling with something else, and another colleague like, oh, leave it with me, I'll pick it up and I'll do that for you. And I've done that in the past for colleagues who are like, oh, send that to me, I'll do it for you. And it's the team ethos within our team, the quality and market improvement team, and at the moment as a care home liaison officers, is very much, we're all in it together, and it means so much, which is why I love working where I am working, doing what I do, and I'm willing to do that extra little bit. So that's why I don't mind, carrying on till 6-7 o'clock in the evening if need be, to get some work done. If I've got a piece of work that needs doing, then I'll continue to do it until it's done. So yeah, and I know people, and again, and I always go back to other people. I always compare myself to other people, because I've seen how hard they've got it. That I know people who will at 5 o'clock, not in North Yorkshire, I mean my friends and colleagues, my friends outside of North Yorkshire, who at 5, literally they're watching the clock, 5 o'clock, clock off, go home, gone. And so I don't care what needs to be done. I'm good. I don't get paid for extra, because that's the way they've been treated. But I'd be more than happy. If Stephen or Janine or Nick or Johnny said to me, Zaheer, we need you over here at 9 o'clock in the morning over in Scarborough, I'd make it all the way from Lancashire, because they know they wouldn't do it to me, hopefully. But I'd do it if need be. They know I'd do it. They know I'd be there. But again, I just can't speak highly enough of everyone who I work with how they've accepted me and treat me as a Muslim and as a colleague in every aspect.
Nice. Like you said, it's the culture you create, and yeah, exactly. Beyond the if you think about it, when you're treated like a human being with the respect and the dignity that a human being deserves, whether you're race or faith or whatever, that all comes part of it. Because if you see someone being mistreated, or you think that something is unfair, that someone has to go through, on the basis they have a different faith or a different race or they're LGBTQ or whatever, you know, that feeling of kind of empathy is because you're seeing them as yourself, as a human being. So those kind of differences, they're important because obviously it shapes the different experience that we have. But when it comes to showing empathy, you show it because I don't need to be, you know, a Muslim to see that XYZ is wrong. I don't need to know that. I know that because he's my friend, he's my colleague, and I see him struggling, and I don't want that. And that's, you know, that's, I think that's more of kind of what you were saying, is it's not just about letting you, you know, pray when you need to pray and drama and stuff like that. It's recognizing, oh, when you were going through a difficult situation, being there. It's beautiful, mashallah. Like, it's something that, you know, when you hear that, and I think probably viewers will feel the same, when you hear that, it's uplifting because it's an insight in the world that we could have if we all treated each other. I guess it's that golden rule, how we would want to be treated ourselves, like that empathy. But yeah, I guess to kind of, not to close, but because I think we could talk about a lot of things more hours, and maybe, you know, if people really like this, we could probably do more podcasts.
I think it's a good way to do it, and I think podcasts like this, I think if we were in COVID, we'd probably done it face to face. Well, you know, technology, let's hope it works, fingers crossed. You know, it'd be a good thing to do for other aspects, so other people's religions as well. And what's important, you know, throughout the year, there are so many occasions you have, and I think that are important to people who work within North Yorkshire, and to have podcasts, or for them to do a vlog or something like that. For, again, it's about that inclusion, and again, I go back to, as I said at the start, the response I got to my video about Eid al-Adha. I was overwhelmed. There were 30 plus messages from people I would never met, and that for me was like, wow, that was amazing. And then obviously I had colleagues who I know who would message me as well, which was great. But that for me was amazing. And it's like, that's something I thought, wow, people have learned from that. And I'm sure if someone from the Jewish community, or the Hindu community, or the Sikh community, or the Christian community, or the LGBTQ community, you know, whichever community were to do something similar, I'm sure it would get the same response. And I think from a council perspective, I think as a North Yorkshire perspective, that's something that would be good to be looked at, that to do more like things like that, because I think it'd be good for everybody to learn more about, and that will allow us to be more inclusive if people are more aware. If we're aware of people's religion, their beliefs, or why they do what they do, why they wear what they wear, why they say what they say, then, you know, I think we will be more diverse, we're more inclusive, and we'll be more, you know, educated. And I think that's the most important thing, about education for everybody. You know, so that we're not just thinking about ourselves, and we are, you know, thinking about other people as well.
No, exactly. And kind of the not flip side, but the other kind of side of that is, like, for me, when my manager Jonathan, who was also similarly, like, he's been very supportive in terms of asking me off if you need, you know, Fridays off or anything like that. But when he sent me your video, I think it's that representation aspect that's so important as well. Like, to just see that you were someone that worked in the council, and obviously to have the conversation with you just now as well. And to be someone that's just starting, or say if I hadn't started yet and I was considering and I've seen that, it's that reassurance, you know, that there's a space for you there, that there are other people that, you know, because that's the thing, like, it's great to be able to share, you know, and discuss with other people, but equally it's that feeling of being able to talk about issues of faith and maybe difficulties or anything like that, and just know that you have someone that has had those similar experiences that you can discuss that with, that kind of space to discuss those things. And I guess, like, that kind of leads into the final question, which is, like, do you have any advice for maybe Muslims or people of other minority faiths who are thinking, oh, should I apply for this job at NYCC, or, you know, or just even, I know there's obviously a lot of graduates and just people right now that are looking for work, and any of them, if you have any advice to them when they're starting, you know, maybe they're a first-time job. as a Muslim or another minority faith?
I think the most important thing is being honest at the very beginning, which is important, because if as a Muslim, if you tell your manager that you were a Muslim and that on Fridays you're at the very beginning that you'd like to have this time for Fridays for your prayers or for any other religious festival, I think it's important to have that conversation early on with your manager. And I think then it kind of depends on your manager. And I think from your experience and my experience, and I don't know about other people's experiences, I think with policies that we have in North Yorkshire, I don't think there's, even if the managers didn't want to, that they could stop you from doing anything, to stop you from having your prayers and things, because I think it is I do think it's it can be very inclusive when it comes to things like that. So I think my advice would be being open and honest with your manager from the very beginning about what is important to you, and if there are times that you're going to need off, and and why you will need it, etc. And I think for me, it's that open and honest. And I've always been as open and honest with my managers when it comes to my religion, like what I'll need and what I would like, and if they can facilitate it. And to this day, 10 years in working for the council, coming to my 11th year, I'm yet to have a problem. And I'll give an example, actually. Another example of that was in my old job, when it was the last 10 days of Ramadan, which as a Muslim, the last 10 days, you want to do a little, even more than you do in the first 20 days. And what I wanted to do was what Muslims call it off. And that is when you spend the last 10 days in the mosque in complete isolation. And I rung my manager at the time, and it was maybe 3 days before. And I was like, look, I'd really like to do this, and I'd really like it, and I'll take it as, and it was accepted. It was like, okay, that's fine. You've got nothing on, it's fine. We'll arrange it, and it was arranged for me within a very short notice. So again, that was good. That was really nice of them to facilitate that. So it's about, I think, if you're open and honest and with your managers, I think that will help. And I think that's the best. Open and honesty. That's the best I've got. That's my gimmick. I think that's the only thing I've got, really.
No, that's good. That's good, because I feel like sometimes it's the fear of asking, because it's like that burden. But if you never ask, I don't want to use that phrase. If you don't ask, you don't get. But there's not space to be able to be,
Yeah. Because it's. Yeah. No, sorry, carry on. I
was just gonna basically just say, unless as you said with some of your managers that kind of go to Friday prayers, unless it's kind of put to you, but it's not always going to be, because obviously not everyone has that on the first thing on their minds, or they like Ishtiaq is not something that maybe everyone would know about. Even as a Muslim, like later I found out about that.
Yeah, I think that the way I see it is that if you don't tell your managers what's important to you, how are they going to know what's important to you?
No,
if you don't tell them, if you don't say to my, Fridays I'd like to do my prayers, or at 2:00 I'd like to do my prayer during the week, and I like 5 minutes, Ramadan's important, Eid's important, this is important, that's, or other religious festivals from other faiths that are important to them. If you don't tell your manager that I will need time off around this time, around these days, then how are they going to know? I think it's important that we accept that people do that, because again, I said I've not had any issues for now. I don't know what other people's experiences are. My experience from my managers has always been really good. And I've always been open and honest with them about it, what I've needed, and it's never been an issue. So I'd say that have those conversations, explain to them why you need that time off, and I'm sure that if I'm sure that management would be happy with that. Again, that's my intent. That's what I would think anyway.
Yeah, no, it's really it's been a really great discussion.
And
I really hope hopefully one, this recording works, and two, inshallah, it gets good engagement and feedback, because we want people to be able to engage with this. I guess for people watching, if especially if they're not Muslim,
Mm.
I had a bit of a gateway into just two Muslims chatting. Stuff like that, and yeah, I hope hopefully for them it's been insightful. It's been very insightful for me,
Yeah.
the experiences, and yeah, and insightful regarding NYCC and everything like that. And I guess really just this conversation has just kind of really, I think, been an amazing summary of just how important inclusion is and the benefits that, you know, it can bring everyone, yourself, myself, NYCC managers, you know,
Mm.
force, the culture in the workplace, all of those things. And yeah, you know, if anyone has any I guess questions or anything like that, feel free to comment below wherever this is posted.
That's it. You're doing a YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe.
And I'm not sure if it might be posted out, if everything goes to plan, this might actually be posted out on Friday. So if that's
Okay.
Jumma Mubarak.
Yes, Yom Mubarak, definitely. Hair Mubarak. Yes, it's thank you, and thank you, Francesca, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you to Jonathan as well for allowing me this time. It is, and you know, just thank you.
I don't even know how to end this. Well, I think we should just end with our salams, isn't it?
Yeah, but Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.